from to Councillor Oakes, Neville Oakes and Sue Oakes. Personal reasons. Do we accept them?
Yes. Can I just mention, Mr. Chairman, I think it's a little bit worrying that they haven't come now to 3, or is it 4 meetings? And maybe somebody should have just a quiet chat with them on a personal basis to see if we can resolve.
I think they're making some sort of statement.
Mm. Well,
I don't think it's. I think they've got some of their own agenda going on here.
Mm. Well, would you like me to have a little chat with them?
By all means.
I've no idea. You can give me their phone number tomorrow. I'll give them a ring.
I don't know what you're going to say.
275818.
Oh, right, okay.
Right, declarations of interest. To receive and consider any declarations of interest from members and officers under Section 50 of the Local Government Act 2000, Standing Order 35. This requirement applies only in respect of matters which are to be considered by the committee at this meeting. 1. To declare any disclosable pecuniary interests. Anybody?
No. Not in this instance.
2. To declare any other interests.
No.
No. And the only item on the agenda is to discuss changes in the proposed extension and the studio at Fletton House and to agree an action plan.
Right.
Switch.
So we need to await our visitor. That's as far as we can get without her really.
What time is the downstairs finish then?
Her last class finished at 8:30, so she should any minute now be coming up.
That's okay. I don't think, I know this is being recorded and I don't mind this. I don't think we should sit here like lemons waiting for
No, I agree.
20, 30 minutes.
No, we're not
Oh
going
no,
to be.
no, we're not.
Because she's under
Give her 10 minutes, I think that's it.
Yeah.
If she doesn't, then it doesn't feel like there's a message in that. And then
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So does anybody want to play Tiddlywinks? Sorry, I have a weird sense of humour.
Anybody listening to our recordings hearing this
Yes.
is going to think they're very high-powered meetings we have.
Well,
Some of them are.
Tiddlywinks is not a bad idea.
No, it's not.
Should have brought it with me.
What's this lady's name?
Lisa
Lisa.
Hunter,
Is that Mrs. Miss?
Mrs.
Okay.
Come in, hear your voice.
Hello. Sorry, are you here? No, no, it's okay.
So very right.
Thank you. Oh. Sorry, I'm a bit sweaty.
That's right. Okay, well, you can kick off in that case.
Am I? Right.
Mrs. Lisa Hunter.
Hello. Well, I'm the primary user of the studio downstairs at the moment, and we have had difficulty over the last 2 years with changing and how to facilitate that in a safe way for the children, but in a way that also doesn't impact on the cafe. And I think part of the problem is obviously the cafe is directly next to the studio, so I think it just gets seen as a waiting area for the studio, effectively. Obviously I know you're obviously planning a permanent changing area, which is really great. The meetings that I've had with Emma and with Val have been to sort of work out how that's going to work logistically. What I think we've come down to in the end is that an outside door into that changing area, whilst I know the architect, is the architect here? No. I didn't want to talk about him and then he goes, he said it that wasn't possible for security reasons. But to be honest, there's no, people could walk in the building anyway where we are now. It's not like they wouldn't have been able to.
I think the problem is little children being exposed when
Yeah.
people open the door, so you need a double door.
Okay.
There's not room.
Yeah.
It's the logistics of how you'd work that.
Yeah,
if,
yeah.
if you have a door that's open from the outside, while they're in class, anybody could come in from outside and steal their belongings, or, all sorts of funny people could get in there. We had a couple, when we first opened, we had a couple of funny people. I tackled one in the car park out there, which is why you got the blinds on the windows in the studio, because a car was out there parked with his engine running, watching through the windows, watching the ballet class. And I went up to him, tapped on the window and said, "Are you just coming in or coming out? Because I'm looking for a parking space." And he panicked and drove over the curbs and everything to get out in a hurry. And I described him to Anne Fitzgerald, Councillor Fitzgerald at the time, and she said, "That's another one then," and she told me of another guy who'd been watching the studio. So yeah, we've had some funny people around, so we've got to be careful about outside doors, really, into a changing area where you've got young children changing. That was one of the considerations. And I'm also worried about if they're changing, some of them, the parents are letting them change in the cafe area, actually in the hub.
Talked about
Yeah,
that.
that was what.
And that again is a problem. It's embarrassing for some of the
Yeah.
some of the people who come in there to have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And again, if you get these funny people, it's going to attract them if they know that sort of thing's going on in there.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
I've done notes to my parents, and it's on my notice board is please don't change your children, and they have.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't believe I'm actually having to tell you that, because I would have thought that would be blatantly obvious, but
Yeah.
some just don't seem to get it. But I mean, on the whole, I think they don't. But you just do get the odd ones. So I mean, from a temporary point of view, until something is built, I made some suggestions. I mean, on a Monday it's not really an issue. We don't start till 5:30, so the cafe's closed. So the children tonight, for example, they arrived and they changed in the loo. And then they came through. On Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday afternoons, the 4 o'clock class can come into the studio and change, because they're coming straight from school, those children usually, so they do have to change, they can't just come in their leotard. But we put the blinds down, we have them down most of the time anyway, so they can change in there, and any other children will have to change in the toilet. We're not putting, we're not putting the screens up this time. Saturday morning, anyone new who's starting, I've been putting on their emails. There isn't a change of facility at the moment, we're getting onto that, but at the moment please bring them dressed for their class. Or if you can't do that, then go into the loo and change them. Please don't change them in the cafe.
So what we're proposing then, really, a changing room is going to be ideal for you.
Yeah, I absolutely want a changing room. But
Okay,
the problem we have is if it's there with the only access to it is from the studio, you've then got a problem with I'm teaching class and you've got kids coming through and going back again from the changing room.
Can't you restrict them to a small area, against one wall? Doesn't that work?
We've had them restricted to some extent with screens within the hub,
Within the hub.
but that doesn't work for two reasons. One is that if there are a lot of customers, they get quite cross about the fact that they can't occupy that space. So this gives a lot of tension and pressure for the hub staff,
Yes, I know.
and they have now said they can't work with that system. And they are quite noisy, that's the other thing.
Yeah, they're children and they don't necessarily
Yeah,
stay
exactly.
quiet.
Well, you see, some of the parents just drop them off, let them run around the hub.
Yeah, there's lack of supervision by the
And,
parents. Whatever you say, there is.
It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
perhaps
I
a
mean,
problem, unfortunately.
They shouldn't, and they've never been told by me it's fine to just leave them.
No,
I've
but
always
they
said
do,
that they
so I
do.
mean, it's...
Yeah, or they'll leave,
We don't need to
you know,
argue.
one parent with
Yeah.
8 children, that's not
Yeah.
being
It's
very
not even
fair.
worth arguing about because we know it.
Yeah, no.
So the problem we have is that the only place we can put the changing room is there.
Yeah,
And there's nothing else we can do. Because otherwise we won't be able to supply that facility.
yeah,
So you have a choice whether you sort of channel it so that we can get the children in there, and there is only the one area because the other part is the kitchen, so children can't go through the kitchen.
no.
So we have a choice where you either accept the fact that that's going to be the situation, or we won't be able to build the changing rooms, because if we put more access in there, where do you put it? We can't put it anywhere
Well,
else.
we had come up with an alternative plan,
Yeah,
which was to take part of the studio.
yeah, which I'm
And
not.
you don't want that,
I
do you?
don't want that,
So-
and I don't think Zumba. I know they use all the spaces,
Yeah.
it's quite big.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
the
But if they-
the only option we have is plan A. We can put a toilet in there for you, because I know that's what you wanted. But I honestly can't see there is any other way of putting this changing room on, which helps you a lot. Hopefully it will mean that you'll stay here and continue using the facility, with a toilet in there. But there is, in actual practical terms, if we can't put any screening up, we can't lose space from that room, there is no other alternative, is there? Really?
No.
I mean, you said about using the Barmore room, which is solid, the one behind it,
Benefield
the
room.
Benfield room. But, you know,
We did originally, I think, when we first came.
yeah.
That's what
So you could use the
That's
Benfield
when
room.
you go.
But that's the only alternative. Either we use the existing studio now, or we transfer you to the Benefield room.
But they're still coming through the
Exactly.
cafe
But they're still going to be coming through.
after they've changed.
Yes, I mean, they're always going to,
Well, unless you supervise them coming through.
which I can't. I'm a teacher classes back to back, so I don't,
Yeah.
I don't have
Yeah.
time in between. And
Yeah.
Well, to a
it's,
certain
it's,
extent,
it's
when,
a cafe next to a ballet studio. There's going to
but
be
to a certain
people
extent,
ballet
it's your
here.
responsibility to look after the people who come to your class. You're attracting them there, you're charging them. So the fact that you have to spend 5 minutes supervising them to come in, you have to just book the room for 5 minutes longer. It's
Yeah,
not the responsibility of HUD staff.
No,
or the
no,
rest of
I'm not
us
saying it is.
to look after the children who are
No,
trying
it's
to
the
go to school.
parents' job to look after the children,
Yeah.
not mine. You know, they're paying me to teach the children.
Well, while they're there, under your care, your supervision, you take responsibility for it.
Yeah, and you know, it's never been possible for a ballet teacher to supervise the changing area and the studio at the same time. I have to.
No, we're not telling you to supervise the
But it is
changing room,
implicit actually
but they've got to go
in
into
your-
the change room.
in your, if you like, renting the room, because the HUB staff are not responsible for them in any way.
No,
So they're in your care
Yes.
because the parents are paying for you to have them in your care
Well,
for that hour.
when they're in the studio,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, no, it's while they're at your class.
Yeah, I mean, on a Saturday, the parents drop them off at the studio door and they pick them up from the studio door, because I have to open the door and check that each child goes to parent. Obviously, they're very small, they're 4-year-olds, I don't just sort of let them out to the hub and off they go. I wait until I review, okay, like they do at primary school, they release them.
I don't know what happens if you leave a load of children in that room without anybody watching them. You know, that's not a good idea.
When you
Well, no, we don't. I mean, I've never considered that the changing area is a place where the children operate, you know, without a parent.
But if they come
with them.
15 minutes early and go into the Benefield room and change, what happens between then and when your class starts?
They usually stay in the
They stay in there.
Well, who's going to look after them?
Well,
I mean, they are kids. If there's no parents there, I don't
yeah,
know.
well, there should be a parent there. I think. That's the thing. There's not. There's no way for me to. I can't.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it's
I'd never
not,
fit
it's
all
not,
the
it's not the
classes
HUD's responsibility to make sure that's covered.
No, I know
It's
it's mine. I have
responsibility,
said to parents, please don't leave your children. In fact, when we did have a difficulty with, it was the jazz class, not the ballets, but the jazz class, where
Yeah.
some children were being dropped off and just left. I said, A, you can't do that, and B, if you really have to drop them off early because you've got to go and pick up your other child somewhere else doing
Yeah.
football.
Mm.
Send the child into the studio and they sit in the studio with me until their class starts.
Sit on a seat and behave.
Yeah.
Could they do that then?
In the room.
That's what they do.
Yes, that's what they do.
Yeah,
That's what they currently do is,
Yeah.
the younger jazz group who are coming up.
Could that happen with the ballet? Been the same, if that was
Yeah.
necessary?
Yeah, I mean, if the parent really has to leave, yes, that's what I've always said. And also I've always said to children, if you go out and the parent isn't there to pick you up, you come back into the studio and you wait with me. You don't, you know, same with the Victoria Hall, you don't just hang out, you know, in the...
Wouldn't they come in quietly? I know you've got the previous class on. Wouldn't they come in quietly and stick to the wall and go down that little passageway into that changing room? Do you think they could be trained to do that? So they go into that changing room and change and be ready, and they wait in there until their class, and then they swap with the ones that are in the class, so that that class comes out and gets changed back again. And
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be human
yeah.
Well,
in and out with
If
clothes.
they will creep round, if they can creep round the corner of the
Yeah.
studio without disturbing your class and without making any noise, if they're trained, to do that and go into that changing room that we've had designed, then that's the best place for them, really. It's absolutely secure.
And it's safe, yeah.
It's safe, they're in there. When you've finished one class, you can just go there and call them, let one lot come in and change and the other lot out, and then they can creep out. After they've changed, they can creep back out again through the studio door and back out to the parents in the hub
Yeah.
when they've changed.
That
was the
yeah,
theory,
no, I
really.
know what you mean, and I have
Yeah.
operated before like that. It's not great
No.
with little ones. They get really distracted very easily by anything, to be honest. They're 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've then got 5 minutes of trying to get them to concentrate again.
Mm.
And I think if that was a school, if I was a parent, I'm not sure I'd be entirely happy about a load of kids trooping through my child's class and back again every time. But I see what you mean about it being secure, which is obviously
Yeah.
the most important thing. The only difficulty there are two difficulties. Is one that obviously I'm not the only user
No.
of the hub, so if not the hub, the studio, if we get to a point where, say, like Victoria, I used to go in straight after badminton, and I'm not sure how they would have felt about us trooping through their session to get to the changing room before.
Well, I think that's not
Do you
going
know
to
what I mean?
rise here, because obviously badminton's still at QV.
Yeah, no, I don't mean badminton,
I
but
understand
if there
what
was
you're
a
saying.
yoga class
Yeah.
or something, and they're doing
Yeah.
a relaxation.
It is another one of your classes. It's like,
Yeah,
they're
if it's
coming
someone
in
else's
during
class.
the class before.
Yeah.
And if they're, if they behave in your class when they're with you and they're having ballet, they behave with you and you teach them. So, I don't really see why they won't behave coming through your class to go into the changing room and get changed, even if their mums have to go through with the very tiny ones, go in with them and change them, that they would come through very, very quietly and behave as they're coming through your class. Because they won't want anybody disturbing their class in exactly the same way.
No, I mean if they're disturbing someone, another user entirely, like a yoga class or something.
Well, at the
like
moment,
that.
that's not the
No,
case.
at the moment that's
Well,
not.
I think in that case, maybe we can allow a changeover time.
Well, I was going to say the same
So
thing.
10 minutes or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We can work around that, I'm
would be-
sure, to do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
compromise there somewhere on the
Yeah.
booking times, I'm
Yeah.
sure, to
Yeah.
work round that
To
somehow.
allow for that.
If that could be worked, because that would be the simplest way of the lot, I think. And then you've got that changing room, you've got those children in that room. That saves all the complications we were talking about partitions that would be across for some classes, but others you wouldn't need it.
Yeah.
Zumba could have the full room and things like that.
Yeah.
And we did say, suggested to Emma a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, Councillor Glenn, that try it with those screens in the back end of the ballet room, just to see, how much space they'd take up at the back end of the ballet room if they used a partitioned area. See how much you'd lose of your studio with that. with the screens and try it for now and see how it, you know, see how much.
Do you mean on a Saturday or something like that?
Well, any time when you've got a
I don't think it's
class,
necessary in the week, like I said.
No.
Well, when you need them.
when you need it, try it.
My problem is Saturday, like some of the classes, you've got
Yeah.
15 children in a class, and
Yeah.
they will be being changed by their parents because they're very small.
Yeah.
It's fitting
But
in
that will be in the changing room.
potentially, you know, 30
Yeah.
people in my
Those
studio.
screens, I
Yeah.
worry
The screens
about
are wobbly.
screens wobbling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
could, they are a bit of a health and safety
Best of the lot.
nightmare, to be honest.
Best of the lot is if they use that changing room. Sorry, Councillor, I know you were trying to speak a minute ago and I kept talking.
The same point that Councillor Ben made, really, which is that, I mean, it seems to me that we haven't really got a practical solution that gives you absolutely everything you want,
No.
but maybe by scheduling around the changeover time is the best compromise. So, you know, so if we ever do have a situation where we've got somebody backing onto one of yours, for example, we create 10-15 minute gap to make sure,
Yeah.
make sure that we
Or
don't
we
look
can
at the
create,
end to end.
even create 10,
Yes,
15 minute gaps between your classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do that because we're very busy, we're a very full school, and
Right,
actually
okay.
I can't fit any more in unless I want to start teaching till 9-10 o'clock at night.
Right, okay.
But it's not a
Nobody
big,
wants their child out at that time.
it's not a big problem, as it turns out, because you've got quite a few classes that come in, as it were, with not where there's no crossover. They come in your afternoon classes.
Oh,
You
yes,
see,
4
with
o'clock.
nobody else there.
Yeah,
4
4 o'clock one is fine.
Yeah.
They can use the studio.
So how many classes a week? Is there any sort of crossover?
Well, it's on the. Obviously, I'm trying to think how many because we do.
Because even some of the crossover ones, they don't need to get changed, you say, so then they can come in ready
Saturday
or...
children, the small ones, I encourage the parents to bring them dressed.
Yeah.
It's just easier, you know, there's loads of you and it is, and most of them I think do, unless they've been to swimming and they've got to, you know, which often happens because that's on a Saturday morning and a lot of so they'll
I
swimming
think
and then they
Saturday is your hardest day.
Yeah.
Saturdays are
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, and that's when the hub's busiest.
And that's
Yeah.
when I was very busy because obviously all of those are customers as well. They're
Yeah.
often
What
going
would
and-
be the objection then to them hiring another room just for Saturdays?
I think as long as, you know, once they've,
in the
once,
temporarily, you mean,
Yeah.
until, yeah.
I mean, I'm wondering, can we, as a, you know, as a trial period, can we as a trial try and use that changing room, try and get them to come in quietly into your classes, and
When it's built, you mean?
yeah, once it's built, try that,
See how we get on.
see how we get on, and you know, meet again if we have to. If there's problems, let's come back and talk about it again and resolve the problems. But give it a go. Let's see if they will come in quietly, will behave themselves, come in and use that changing room.
I mean,
because
with them being right next to me, I then have more control over the noise level as well, because it's really only me that it would be affecting, so I can
Yeah.
open the door and go, right!
yeah, exactly.
Which they're quite used to me doing.
Exactly.
probably help with council meetings.
You need to turn up now and go, right!
I mean, I don't think we really seem to have any alternative in terms of what the actual physical layout is. So I think
Right.
I think we're stuck with what we've got on the plan,
Okay.
given that's what's gone through planning as well. So I think it's a case of having to work around the best solutions we can within the plan we've got.
Yeah. I mean,
Your original problem was that there wasn't a lavatory. We are putting that was what you originally
yeah, it was one of
objected
the,
to.
well, it
We
was,
are putting a lavatory
it was one of the
in,
things
so
that-
that can't be a major objection.
people went, no, I'm not I'm very happy about that. Because I'd always assumed there would be an outside door. And I thought, oh, that would completely solve the problem because then no one's got any excuse to go through the hub at all if they don't want to.
Yeah.
They come in, they change, they go to the loo, they do their classroom and they leave the same way. So
Yeah.
there's no traffic through the hub whatsoever.
It's how you secure that door. We talked that through with the architect in great detail.
Yeah.
Because I was certainly in favour of some sort of double door system. But you then got a problem. Either the ones on the inside have got to let them in, If somebody comes a few minutes late and they've all gone into class, they can't get in to get changed unless somebody lets them in.
Oh, right, is
If
it
they can
sort
get
of
in from the
locked or
outside,
whatever?
if they come in from the outside, the problem is anyone can wander in from the outside.
Yeah, I mean, we, you know, at the moment they change and they leave their bags, you know, in the changing area. So,
Yeah.
and I just tell them, look, if there's anything, you know, valuable like a mobile phone or jewellery or anything you really would rather not.
It's
but,
not-
but if you have bring it with you into the studio,
Yeah.
so a lot of them will bring their bags actually.
If you have the new setup that we're suggesting, which is
Yeah.
what we've got planning permission for,
Yeah,
but you control their entrance to the room and exit from the room,
yeah.
and they can be trained to walk through quietly, otherwise you'll have to have 2 minutes
Yeah.
without any, you know, while it happens.
Yeah.
But there is an extra safety element in that their stuff will all be in that room. So anybody who's forgotten anything can go and get it. They won't be plugging their mobiles in and leaving stuff all around.
Well, logistically, the only other logistical thing is the purely balletic thing, so it's not necessarily something anyone would think of, which is that as a matter of discipline for ballet, the hair is in a bun.
Yeah.
Now, the children coming straight from school don't have the hair in a bun at school, and they're some of them try and do it themselves, not with varying levels of success, but very often parents would do hair. Now, obviously, we've always said don't do hair in the hub. That's a place where people eat. You don't, you know, everyone knows you don't do hair and food, you know, at the same time. If they do, I apologise because they definitely shouldn't, and I've told them that. That's the only difficulty. We've got parents going back and forward to do hair, and if they've got 2 siblings and all the rest of it, you're then talking about an awful lot of traffic. So I think I'd have to think really carefully about, you know, how that would work. And like I said, begin first class today shouldn't be a problem. I can probably help them if the parents have to go. But
How many children are we talking about in each class?
it varies actually. Like some classes, I might only have, like the grade 4s, there's only 5 or 6 of them, but
Yeah.
my grade 6 there's 20.
20? Yeah.
So,
But they'll be older,
they're older,
and therefore probably capable of doing their own.
they should go and do their own hair.
They'll
Yes.
dress themselves, do their
Well,
own
it's
hair.
surprised. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't want to be putting up objections that
No.
actually...
No, yeah, and Saturdays is
So they
the
won't be
day
taking
where...
mum in. We're not going to have
They're
20
going to be
children
doing
plus
their own
20 mums in
the
there.
toilet.
No,
That's-
you won't have 20 mums in there.
Yeah.
But again, Saturdays is where you've got, you know, young children, you only go up to about 9 years of age. You start with 4-year-old and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, they do want
They really can't do their own hair,
No.
in all honesty.
You've already
so
said
you
that you
to-
hope most of those will be done before they come.
Hopefully, some do, some don't. But again, we'd have to kind of set up new arrangements with parents and just say that, you know, we don't really want lots of traffic going through.
No.
It's really just a changing area for children where they leave their stuff, and you know, you need to do their hair
Conditions of the balance.
before.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, I suppose.
Yeah.
But like I say, this all depends very much on, because I've done, like I said, I've done lots of notes and things before telling parents what's acceptable behaviour and what isn't, and most do. You know, I have 150 children come to classes, and the really vast majority of parents are very good. It's just that you're always going to have some that don't.
Well, we
I
can't
can't.
legislate for that.
And I can't control it, and you can't legislate for that, but I'm just saying that, you know, I do my best, and I do communicate with them, and I do make it clear what we find acceptable. But
I think Councillor Sparks is right that we should give it a try, and if it doesn't work out, then we have to meet again. Or maybe
Once this thing is built, give
think
it
having-
a whirl.
Yeah.
we can actually schedule a meeting.
yeah, I mean, is
A
there
month
a
after it's built.
sort of time when this would be built? I think Emma was saying it would be quite a while, but
We'd like to get on, now we've got planning permission, we'd
Yeah,
like to
we
get the
got the-
architect in with a builder,
yeah.
get it built as soon as we can. And I mean, the facilities there are fairly straightforward. It's not going to need a lot of kitting out. I think we could have that up within a few months. I think we could have that facility up.
You can expand it for Christmas.
Yeah.
What's,
New and exciting
What's the
facilities.
interim
And,
Sorry?
what's the interim solution until it's built?
Until it's built.
Especially for Saturdays for Lisa, because that's when she's got a lot of
So
children.
that's when we're talking, 15.
Yeah, this is the problem one. This is where we said give it a try with the screens inside in the back of the studio, because at one stage we were talking about having some partitions across, and they change behind a partition and then go through the partition into the dance area. And
Personally, I find it unworkable.
Yeah.
With the screens as they are, because they're
Yeah.
not very stable. Also,
Yeah.
that's an awful lot of children, and that
Mm.
there's no way 15 5-year-olds are going to be quiet while I'm teaching another class of 4-year-olds who are
Yeah.
going to be totally distracted. So that
Mm.
would effectively mean like
Yeah.
it would be a mess.
I can see.
On a Saturday, there would be one of the smaller rooms, wouldn't there? So,
What
I
upstairs?
mean, Liz mentioned that Saturdays they can't come upstairs because we said, oh, they would go upstairs to the loos. Liz had said, absolutely not, they won't be able to do that because they have weddings
it's not.
on and
she's
you
not,
can't have,
this doesn't
it's
run
not
the
up
you
to
time.
can't
this.
have children running around upstairs going to
She's not a counsellor. She
They
doesn't
go
run the
running
council.
upstairs, they're just going to the
No. That could be a temporary arrangement. I'm sure we could use this room as a changing room.
Yeah, we've used this room for exams before, I think, didn't we? Yeah.
So I think we could use this as a changing room as a very short-term thing, for until we get that changing room built, and then give that changing room a good try, and let's see if we can make that work.
Yeah, I mean, I really
And
want
really,
to change it.
all of us try really hard to make that work, and get the children to try really hard, because they're getting a lovely facility down there with a changing facility. It's going to be good for the parents, I'm sure. They'll want it as well. So, if as a temporary thing we can say, yes, okay, you've got this room, or there's the little cotton stock room over the other side. I don't know if that's quite big enough, depending on the size of your class.
Straight across from
It's
here.
just a small office, basically.
Yeah, it's probably about a third of the size of this. But it's probably as big as this area behind the screens that they've been changing in at the end of the corridor. When they changed at the end of the corridor near the preschool, they've had an area about that size to change in. So either of those two rooms, if this one's free, use this as a temporary measure until we get the facility built.
It's more likely to be used for weddings because that's where they have a pre-wedding interview. That's
In
why
which
they
case
say
this,
that's
so it's
it.
definitely this. Yeah,
Yeah.
So
definitely
the
this.
mechanics are, the kids arrive with their parents, they come up here and change them.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Mm.
And then
If
what?
they need to change, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd say
Yeah.
As long as they
my
don't just
experience
abandon them
generally
here.
is Saturday children, if they're not coming from something else like riding or swimming or tennis or whatever it is they do,
Yeah.
they seem to be doing about 500 things these days.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just depends.
Well, I think we keep going off the subject
Yeah,
actually.
but I think
Because I think there is a problem with the changing, so it's silly to sit here and pretend there isn't.
no, I mean they should come dressed.
So
Sometimes they
they're
don't.
milling round
Yeah.
the hub, whatever. So if they were away in here,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be milling round the hub.
No.
But it wouldn't actually have to go into the hub until they were ready to go into the ballet.
Yeah.
They just pass through it at the start of their
Well,
class.
if
They
they're
go
coming
down
back,
together,
they could come up
go in the
stairs.
class together. The other class would come out, come up here and change. So they'd just swap over on the stairs, as it were.
Yeah, they should do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mums and dads, or mums and aunties or whatever, will be here to help them with changing if they're little ones.
yeah, I mean, usually the little Saturday kids don't get left. Obviously, I don't think parents just leave. I've never experienced that. I've never experienced children
Right,
being
sorted then.
left at that age.
Yeah.
They're usually here. Like I say, I release them to their parents as they come out anyway. I mean, my pianist did say, obviously, because she arrives, I have two pianists on Saturday, one goes 9 to 11, the other does 11 to 11ish. And she said, yes, it is chaos because you've got all the parents are waiting outside the studio. She said, so, she said, and I can see why customers might not be happy with that, and that's a very busy time. And I said, well,
I think,
that,
it's
as that's the only entrance to the studio, there's not a lot of
I think the problem is when the kids are unsupervised, or poorly supervised.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would object to the parents sitting there
No.
waiting for their child with a
No.
cup of coffee. I mean, that's business.
Yeah.
That's we're talking
Yeah,
about
so-
unsupervised or
Yeah.
badly supervised children, and that is the real problem.
Yeah.
But that's the hardest thing, that's individuals, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you're talking with individual parents, that's the tricky one.
Yeah.
I think what you have to agree as well is that the hub staff have no responsibility for those
Absolutely.
children. And where they have been trying to intervene at the moment, they shouldn't. They should
No.
just leave and just say, look, that child is someone else's responsibility. I think they'd be trying to sort of intervene in that situation, and that's not right.
What we're now saying to Tina and Claire in the hub is to have a word with you and tell you that there's a problem with a child or a parent, whichever it might be, because they should not really be getting involved in incidents with children in the hub.
And frankly, they'll probably respect you more if you go in and
Yeah.
Yeah, they come to your classes, they behave in your classes, so they do respect you.
yes.
They'll have more respect if you go out and have a word with them. They'll be afraid that they're going to be told, you can't come to ballet unless you behave. And I'm sure you've had to say that to some over the years in the past, the odd one or two.
Yeah.
So they'll be worried that
yeah.
that will happen. So they'll behave, and I think that's the way we need to handle it. I think, but for Tina and Claire, it's not their job to take that on.
No, definitely.
And a lot of them they get ignored quite a lot of the time, don't they? But that's
Well, they get abuse from parents too.
abuse.
They've all reported that.
Yeah, and they were worried about some of the children getting excited running about in the hub. They've got a young Saturday girl and they were worried at one stage about her being knocked over. She's not much bigger than they are and she's running around with a tray with food on, hot cups of coffee on a tray, and they've got children running around.
Well, I've mentioned that before, and every time I send the children out, every Saturday, I would say walk.
Yeah.
Don't run, there's people with hot drinks, you know,
Like you
That's
say,
good.
they forget within a few seconds.
and then within a few seconds they're fine. They just don't remember.
No.
And, I mean, I'm sure in some cafes, I've been in cafes where there's been children
Yes.
being badly supervised.
We've all seen it.
And that is a,
But I think
parental issue.
with a bit of give and take with us
Yeah.
all, I think we can make this work. I'm sure this is workable if we all really pull together and we really try and make this work.
I think, to be honest, you've got to sort of say something to the parents other than any child that isn't naughty. And I would say 3 strikes and they're out. I'm sorry, I tend to be sort of fairly straightforward.
Well, the difficulty
Sure,
quite often
I have.
is unless I've seen it myself. Obviously, someone will go, oh, there was a child misbehaving and there was a parent in the group, and very difficult for me to find out which child, which parent, unless they're able to name them, so that gets tricky.
That might be the case, but it wouldn't be much good for your trade. If
No.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
If we banned them from the hub,
Oh, no,
then that's not very helpful to you.
no.
So it's in your interest for us not to need to do that.
Yeah, no, and like I say, I've done a lot of notes and, we're sharing this space with other people, can you please be respectful of that and all the rest of it.
Have you any other items that you want to
No,
mention while
this
we're
is
here?
just what I'd kind of written down when I emailed Emma, really more to get it out of my own head and onto paper so that I didn't forget what I'd said. So,
Can I also put in, and it might be worth, put in with your terms and condition a letter from the hub saying, obviously we appreciate that children are boisterous, but we can't allow them to be over boisterous, and we will take action to stop children and parents coming in, if they are overly boisterous, after say 3
Or if they're
times
disruptive.
or 4 times. So it's not on you, it's on us.
Yeah,
And
but if
we
there was a
say it's not our
letter,
responsibility.
a general.
Well, it's not our responsibility, but if they're running riot in the hub, then it becomes part of our responsibility, even if we don't want it.
I mean, if they're, because sometimes they are being a customer of both, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
They're buying, but they're also a customer
Oh,
of
yes.
whoever
Customers
they are.
behave themselves.
But
Yeah,
it's-
of course,
yes,
but
You know,
what I'm saying
in
is,
a
some,
normal
you know,
cafe or restaurant, the children are made to sit and behave.
well,
Well, not all the ones
not
I go
not
to.
all the ones I go to either, you know. It would be nice if they did.
Yes.
But again, that would then it's up to the cafe to say to those customers,
Well, that's what I'm
could you
saying.
please control your child? Yeah.
If the hub has a letter with yours, that might
Yeah.
help.
Yeah, no, that would be
Yeah,
good.
yeah, general one.
That's a
yeah,
good
just
idea,
give out,
yes.
Yeah,
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 Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
with my usual sort of.
Because it's
Any
part
other
of
points?
Statement by both parties.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to tell us about while you're here? Anything else? Any other thoughts?
I'm just looking at my notes. Just yeah, I mean the only suggestion I made was that if you wanted to completely have 2 separate parts of the building, then you would you'd have an outside door toilet and you'd block off the entrance from the hub to the from the studio to the hub.
In an
And
ideal
then-
world, that would be
then
a solution.
you
Yeah.
would have,
Yeah.
that would be a permanent solution.
Yeah.
There would be no reason for any child to be in the hub at all,
Yeah.
No, it's just,
except
it's
as a
just a
customer
security
with
thing.
the
If we,
yeah.
you know, that is a real worry because unfortunately in our lifetime, and I'm sure you will understand this, there are some people that are not very nice. And if they do see children all in one area and with a door, things can happen.
Yeah.
And I don't think we can allow that.
No, it's just
No,
that's
It would be very difficult to work, I think, an outside door. As I said, I was looking at it in the first instance as a double door, so that nobody from outside could see in, but they would have a door. But the logistics of it are just absolutely impossible, they really are. I think you can see it's pretty difficult to achieve that. So I think the only way is to do it from the inside. And see if we can find a way of making this work from the inside. If you're willing to give that a go.
Yeah, well, you can certainly give it a try, can't we?
Smash it.
Okay.
And talk, we need to sort of
Okay.
talk with the hub staff as
Is
well.
everybody happy with that?
So temporarily.
Yeah.
Saturday up here.
Well, I think if you liaise with Hanukkah and see what's available, but probably
If it's
is, won't it?
available,
Yeah.
if it's not got a
Yeah.
meeting or anything.
I think if we're going to do that on a temporary basis as well, I think you might want to try and encourage the parents to come through the back door and up the stairs rather than come through the hub in a way.
Well, maybe you should signpost the room.
Yeah,
Rather
that
changing.
would be helpful, yeah.
Well, you can put a
I can
notice on
put
the
a
door,
note,
say,
Yeah.
get up the stairs and it's the first room on your left.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
difficult.
Well, we did, some of the children know this because we had used this one year for changing for the exams. On a Saturday because the hub is open, so we used it. So they've been in here before.
Yeah. This is a changing room. They've got a loo immediately opposite across the corridor. Another one just down the corridor from it. So.
Well, the nice thing about that, you see, is if the parents then come downstairs and want to sit and wait for them, they can go in the hub without lots of children in there, you know. But if they don't,
I mean, they've often got, tiddlers, sort of 2 and 3-year-olds, which obviously aren't my responsibility.
No.
So there's not much I can do if they're
No.
running around, I'm afraid.
But they like coming in because it's child friendly. There's toys down there. They come and play in that child area with the toys. So they love coming in there.
I mean,
But as
it
you
is
say, they're not your pupils.
No,
they're a different issue.
Yeah, entirely.
They are our
Your
customers.
headache, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
So Saturdays up here, during the week,
Till we get the changing room built.
in the studio for the 4 o'clock lot, everyone else toilets and then in. And they normally just bring their bags in. If they've had to change in the loo, they just can bring their bags in and we put them against the back wall.
And they will let you christen the changing room when it's open.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah.
The hunter changing room. OSB changing.
Yeah, and then we'll all work to try and make that changing room idea work. As soon as it's built,
Yeah.
it's open, then yeah, we'll all try and make that work, and then there'll be no more need for Barnwell room up here then.
No, there shouldn't be.
No, we'll be able to use that
I mean,
changing
we'd have to
room.
see, I think, on the Saturday,
Yeah,
with that number of children coming in and out, if that, that would just be a kind of work in progress. Let's
Yeah.
see, do I have to allow a 5-minute changeover? Do I have to, is it just unworkable and they'll have to come up here again or whatever? But that would be up to us to kind of experiment with that and see how it works.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Are we done?
But yeah, if there's a loom there, that does help because they're not running out to the back a bit.
Well, it's all self-contained
In
then.
their year
They're in
times,
there,
yeah.
they're self-contained, and they're safe.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Lisa, have you got one of these?
I think I have at home, yes.
Would you like to?
Yeah, if you've got a spare, that would be great. 'Cause-
Saves sitting outside and pouring rain, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah, can you do me one?
Because I used to when I used to play football and good fair.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Closing the
Can I
meeting.
close the meeting? Is there anything else anybody wants to add?
No.
All right, meeting's
Okay.
closed. Thank you.